Welcome to 13 and let's go. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, huh? I had a couple weeks where I was a little under the weather. Had a lot going on. I was in Durango, but I'm back. We're back. We're 13 again. And actually, this week I actually I dug up a story that I've been trying to find one of these stories, something relating to the New York City minimum wage ordinance as it relates to delivery workers, not rideshare. And I found one. I found a bunch, but they're not very insightful. So I'm going to walk us through this one, and I'm going to let you know, we've already talked about how it has affected rideshare, and most rideshare drivers can't even get blocks of time. And a lot of people have been asking me about, well, what is going on with the delivery space? And I've been talking to some people. I've been looking at articles that are very, they're not detailed. But I found one. And it's weird because it's here's the title of it. Bronx Doordash workers speak out against city's minimum pay rule. Excuse me, guys. Oh. So this is from August 13th. Okay, so this is just a few days ago. Some Bronx-based workers are speaking out against the city's minimum hourly wage requirement for workers in their industry, which they say had the unintended consequences of drastically reducing their earnings. You know what's weird about that? I'm going to already pause. Unintended consequences? Really? All of us that talk about this weekly, we knew this was what was going to happen, what we're going to get into here. So, I mean, these were consequences that we absolutely knew. Several voiced their concerns at a roundtable discussion on August 13th when DoorDash workers, local elected officials, and the Bronx Chamber of Commerce came together at a residence inn in Eastchester on Eastchester Road. Sorry, guys, my eyes are a little off. To address the issue, several DoorDash representatives also attended. So there was somebody speaking about how he has been a DoorDash driver, dasher, in the city there for about 3 years, and is no longer making as much money since the minimum wage law went into effect before the minimum wage rule. He said he often earned $1,000 a week. This is pre-minimum wage. So, you know, I don't know that they're not talking about hours or anything, but this is somebody who wants to be the independent contractor. Now he's saying that he's lucky to get half that much for the same amount of time worked. His quote is, "We're really, really struggling," to the point where he is looking for a regular job. Regular job, I know. But I think they're referring to W-2 maybe, where he's looking for a regular job. 3 other dashers who were talked to for this also cited similar experiences. The minimum wage law was hard won by advocates and delivery workers who argued the app-based work provided inadequate protections for workers who are mainly people of color and immigrants, and were heavily relied upon during and since the pandemic. City Council passed a series of bills in 2021 outlining various protections and calling for the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, DCWP, to produce a study on potential minimum wage pay rate and implications. And noticing a trend here, because this is what they do. This is what they did in Minneapolis too, but they really didn't get back a solid report, and they still went with it. We'll see what happens there. Despite a legal challenge by the major delivery apps Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, the city announced the minimum pay rule on April 1st, 2024. Yes, that's when it went into effect. This gets a little weird here, so stick with me. Effective immediately. The rule gave all app-based restaurant workers a wage of at least $19.56 per hour before tips, to be adjusted annually for inflation where they would go up every April or whatever. Again, it hasn't been said yet, but we will get to it. We're talking active time. With the rideshare, that's why they've really blocked them out. That's why over half the drivers can't even work, because they're being paid for downtime too. I'm not sure what their allowance of declines and things like that is, but here it's active time. But contrary to the four dashers at the Bronx roundtable, the city says the new law has drastically increased earnings for delivery workers. Okay, this goes against, by the way, just if you know anybody in New York, everybody, the people I talk to, this goes against everything I'm being told. So these reports are always kind of funny. I'm wondering who they really talk to. A DCWP report from January to March 2024 showed that delivery app workers earned an average of $19.26 per hour, a 64% increase from the same quarter the year before the minimum pay rate was enforced. That's kind of strange. I'm wondering if part of that is just the amount of part-time people who, when they first launched it, were able to get an hour here or there, and I don't know. Meanwhile, the city has a system for workers to submit complaints. We will be continuing to monitor the app's compliance to ensure workers are being paid appropriately, but any worker who has questions or complaints should reach out to us immediately, said the commissioner in a statement when the rule change was introduced. At the roundtable, the three Bronx-based delivery workers brought in by DoorDash's public engagement team unanimously spoke out against changes to the app that stemmed from a new rule. This is a quote. First of all, I love what I do, said one of the drivers. A 10-year veteran dasher who lives in Bedford Park area, but he said he enjoyed the flexibility of the old system. He was making good money, and he didn't see a need to change it. This is the same driver. We, as workers, know how it is, and we know what's best for us. Yeah, he's talking about the hustle, of course. He said he is now seeing less efficient use of his time. You have to, and he's talking utilization rate there. That's something, Sergio and I have talked about it a few times, like, not your dash time, your real time, and how much of your time is utilized. You have to be there all day to make some money, he said. It was not like that before. So, I mean, these are pretty, like, you have to be there all day to make money. A lot of people are out there all day anyway, but I think we get the gist of what he's saying. This isn't working. The Bronx event was a fact-finding session for DoorDash. So head of government relations for the company in New York for DoorDash, New Jersey, and Puerto Rico, the company held a similar event last week in Queens and will go to Manhattan and Brooklyn in the weeks ahead. But the company came with well-established concerns. It said the pay rule has had devastating impacts on New York City's economy, cutting into small businesses, same as Seattle. So hearing that same thing now. Profits and limiting the earning potentials of dashers. The number of dashers in the Bronx has dropped by 25% since the minimum pay rate took effect. While DoorDash blames the city for the business loss of revenue, same thing in Seattle, it did not specify whether or not the company increased its fees in response to the rule. We know what happened. We hope the policymakers in New York will recognize that this isn't working and we need to find a new approach. Same thing as Seattle pay up legislation. They're trying to get rid of that. Guys, if you have any comments, please, please, please. I love the comments on 13. I've been away for a minute, so put them in. Want them. Let me know what you're thinking about all this. They believe the city had good intentions in prescribing the minimum wage, but they didn't hear from enough workers in the process. Same story we're hearing everywhere, especially Seattle. California is its own entity, so I'm trying to leave that out of these talks. Nobody is making more money now than before. He's saying nobody. Everything changed. Dashers at the round table said their issue is not with the minimum pay rate, but also with the scheduling changes that accompanied it. The workers say they are now limited in where they can make deliveries at specific times, which has reduced their ability to work the platform. A DCWP spokesperson also told the Bronx Times that the city did not prescribe changes to how the apps schedule employee time. Again, there we are, employee, even though we're not talking about them. And that those decisions were made by the companies. Another driver who has worked for DoorDash by bike for 2 years said that under the changes, he frequently cannot clock in to make deliveries in certain parts of the city. Before he added, he could choose to go anywhere that there were jobs available. So what we're relating to there is, we already know walkers and the bikers and the scooters, they take more time to do a delivery. So they're trying to optimize this time, so they're not giving them as much. I think they even stopped the walkers. But so he says, I'm trying to just get the money, hustling, but he believes putting all delivery workers on equal footing took away the from those like him who were making great money and hustling to set a minimum wage for the people who couldn't make that. Floor meets ceiling. This is what happened with Rideshare. It's happening right now there. So the president of the Bronx Chamber of Commerce said she was surprised to hear Dasher's unanimous point of view. She expressed concern about a dip in numbers and morale among workers whom residents like herself have grown to depend on. A balancing act between app companies, consumers, workers. Yeah, we get it. We want to protect you. We will help you get your voice out there. DoorDash has been the main company at the table for these type discussions, getting hit from both good, bad, Soren said, but she will make a balance and we will get this fixed. There's a lot there to dissect, I know. She further said, I believe in these apps, but added that it is often difficult to know the effects of any changes until it's implemented. That is crap. They need to do market testing before they roll out things in one of the biggest markets in the world. So yeah, I will put the link to the article in here. The other thing is there's a study in there, and I'm going to challenge you guys to leave a comment about that study. See what you see on that. Peace.